At the start of the drama, the female protagonist, Ling Shu, recounts her tale. "I'm a divorced woman," she begins. "I excelled as a top student in school and was offered a position at a major firm, but I turned it down when a charming man proposed to me. I devoted 6 years to being a homemaker, only to find out one day that my husband was unfaithful. I ended our marriage on the spot. I have a 5-year-old son, but I didn't gain custody because I lack financial stability and a steady job." While Ling Shu drives along the road, lost in thoughts about her struggles, her car collides with a striking man named Chung Li, the CEO of a thriving company. He hands her his assistant's business card and departs before Ling Shu can utter a word. The following day, Ling Shu visits Chung Li's company to discuss compensation with his assistant. The assistant responds, "I'll set up an interview, and then we'll meet." Ling Shu waits. She notices that every young woman leaving the interview room is either in tears or raising her voice. Curious, Ling Shu trails one of them to the restroom and inquires about the interview. The girl explains, the company's CEO is seeking a personal assistant to be with him around the clock, which leaves no room for a private life. Ling Shu muses that a 24/7 personal secretary feels much like being a housewife again. Determined, Ling Shu heads to Chung Li's office with her resume in hand. Chung Li glances at it and remarks, "You're 29 and previously married. I can't hire you for this role." Ling Shu pleads, "Give me an opportunity. If I secure this job, I can cover your damages." Chung Li retorts, "I'm not running a charity, and you don't meet the qualifications." Undeterred, Ling Shu persists, shadowing Chung Li into his workspace. He attempts to convince her she's unsuitable, but she insists, "Just let me try. If you approve of my performance, keep me." Hearing this, Chung Li challenges her to clean the entire office, including the restroom. Ling Shu begins tidying up, but Chung Li grows annoyed by her lackluster cleaning abilities throughout the day. That evening, Chung Li sits down with Ling Shu in his office for a conversation. Suddenly, his mother arrives. Their relationship is strained, and she takes an instant dislike to Ling Shu. To dodge his mother's probing, Chung Li promptly hires Ling Shu, declaring, "This is my personal assistant, and she's very dear to me." Ling Shu is thrilled to land the position. The next day, Chung Li's assistant briefs her on his preferences, detailing what he enjoys and what he detests. From then on, Ling Shu begins living with Chung Li 24/7. She fumbles through her tasks, creating chaos which exasperates Chung Li. However, when she prepares coffee for him, he savors it, thinking she's the first person to brew it exactly to my liking. Later, Chung Li deliberately piles extra work on Ling Shu, hoping to overwhelm her into quitting. His assistant reports, Ling Shu has completed all her tasks admirably. Surprised, Chung Li asks, "Why are you so intent on pushing her out?" Chung Li admits, "Because she's not appealing enough." The assistant counters Ling Shu is ideal for this role. Convinced, Chung Li instructs his assistant to prepare the contract. The assistant asks Ling Shu, "Do you have children? If so, you can't take this job." Ling Shu replies, "No," and signs the agreement. That night, Chung Li hosts a party at his home, where Ling Shu is present. One of his friends, Michael, mistakes her for a waitress. Michael turns to Chung Li and asks, "Why is your waitress acting so strange?" Chung Li corrects him, "She's not a waitress, she's my personal assistant." Michael smirks, "That's harsh. It seems she'll do anything you tell her to." Chung Li raises an eyebrow and says, "Suggest something. What should I have her do next?" Shortly after, Chung Li's assistant approaches Ling Shu, handing her a short dress. "Wear this at the party," the assistant demands, "or your job is over. The choice is yours." With that, the assistant walks away. Ling Shu inwardly vows, "I won't put this on no matter what." In a burst of defiance, she hurls the dress at Chung Li's face. But then, thoughts of her son flood her mind, and reluctantly, she slips into the dress and heads to the party. Chung Li is stunned when he sees Ling Shu. He questions her sharply, "Don't you have any dignity?" Ling Shu fires back, "I'll never surrender, no matter the cost." After the party ends, Chung Li orders her to clean the entire venue. Exhausted but resolute, Ling Shu keeps scrubbing late into the night. The next morning, as she drives Chung Li to his office, the car suddenly stalls. Heavy rain pours down. Ling Shu arranges another vehicle to get Chung Li to work, but she remains stranded in the downpour. Later, Chung Li's assistant informs him, Ling Shu's in the hospital. Her health took a sudden turn for the worse. Chung Li visits her there. Before seeing Ling Shu, he runs into her friend Jaya Xiao, who glares at him. "Why are you tormenting her?" Jaya snaps, "She slaves for you day and night, and you ignore her efforts." Chung Li responds coolly, "She's my employee. I'll cover her medical expenses and grant her a week's leave." A week later, Ling Shu returns to the office. Chung Li assigns her a fresh task: prepare a presentation for a skincare product and secure a dealership. Ling Shu hesitates, then asks, "Can I get a raise? You're piling on work for 2 people." Chung Li brushes her off. "I'm already paying you plenty. A raise? Out of the question." Ling Shu counters, "Fine, then give me a storeroom at your place. I'll handle your household tasks along with the office ones." Initially, Chung Li resists, but Ling Shu persuades him. Later, she meets Xing, a close colleague, in the office. Xing confides, "This project is ancient. No one's ever landed a dealership for it. I suspect Chung Li gave it to you on purpose, hoping you'll quit." Ling Shu grows anxious after hearing Xing's words. Xing then mentions the name of a new brand director, Eric. Without hesitation, Ling Shu heads to Eric's office, only to be stopped by the receptionist. "You don't have an appointment with Eric," she says. Ling Shu lingers there, pondering her next move. She sends a parcel labeled with Eric's name to the reception desk and instructs the receptionist, "Call Eric to pick it up." A man soon emerges to collect it, and Ling Shu assumes, this must be Eric. When he steps out again later, she approaches him. "I'm Chung Li's assistant," she introduces herself. "I just need 10 minutes of your time." The man agrees. "All right, sit in the car." Ling Shu joins him in the vehicle and requests another opportunity to present her company's proposal. The man smirks. "Chung Li sent such a stunning woman for this. I can't say no." But then he begins acting inappropriately. Ling Shu snaps, "What are you doing?" She demands he stop the car immediately. He sneers, "Don't you know how this works?" Ling Shu retorts, "Eric, I didn't come here to flirt with you." The man freezes, stunned. "I'm not Eric," he admits. "I'm Peter, his assistant." Ling Shu reveals, "I've recorded everything you just said. Imagine what Eric will think of you." Peter panics. "What do you want?" he asks. "Arrange a meeting with Eric," she insists. Peter concedes. "You can see him tomorrow at 10 a.m. Afterward, Ling Shu drives Chung Li back to his office and informs him, "I'm meeting Eric tomorrow." Chung Li responds curtly, "Fine. Let's see what comes of it." The next morning, Ling Shu arrives to meet Eric. He approaches her and grins. "Why are you staring at me like that? Am I that good looking?" Ling Shu introduces herself, and Eric replies, "I already know who you are." Curious, she asks, "Were we classmates?" Eric shakes his head. "No, I'm a friend of your friend Jiao." He hands her his business card, and Ling Shu recognizes his full name. This is the same person Jiao had wanted to set her up with. Both are delighted by the coincidence. Eric then invites her to resubmit her company's proposal. Ling Shu rushes back to the office, brimming with excitement, and shares the update with Chung Li. He responds gruffly, "Okay, he's asked for the proposal, but the dealership isn't secured yet. No reason to celebrate." He instructs her to prepare the presentation and leaves. Though Chung Li remains dismissive, he's secretly pleased they've overcome a major obstacle. That night, Ling Shu works late on the presentation. Chung Li is still in his office too. She notices the office lights are still on when Chung Li suddenly storms out, yelling, "Who turned off the lights?" Ling Shu calmly replies, "I did. No one else is here, why waste electricity?" Chung Li snaps, "Are you the one paying the bill?" Ling Shu replies, "We should care about the environment." Chung Li shrugs. "Fine, turn off the lights wherever I'm not around." Ling Shu teases, "Are you scared of ghosts?" Chung Li playfully taps her on the head, grumbling, "What rubbish are you spouting?" Ling Shu laughs, "Just kidding." They step into the elevator together. Inside, Ling Shu asks, "Can I visit my friend after dropping you off?" Chung Li smirks, "Her friend? She's a troublemaker." Ling Shu quips, "I'm not finding you a girlfriend. You're not her type anyway." Chung Li raises an eyebrow, "Oh, what type am I then?" Ling Shu answers, "You're good looking, but your heart's cold as stone." Before he can respond, she darts out of the elevator. The next day, Eric visits Chung Li's office. Chung Li delivers the project presentation, and Eric approves, saying, "Wait for the outcome." To celebrate, Chung Li takes his team to a club. Some guys start harassing Ling Shu, but Chung Li steps in, fends them off, and escorts her to the car. As Ling Shu applies balm to his bruises, Chung Li's gaze lingers on her. She chuckles, "I feel like an 18-year-old with a guy fighting for me." Chung Li scoffs, "You're overanalyzing? I'm younger than you, there's a huge age gap, auntie." Ling Shu protests, "Why call me auntie?" Chung Li bursts into laughter. The following morning, Chung Li enjoys a breakfast Ling Shu prepared, unaware she's watching him discreetly. He relishes every bite. Later, Ling Shu announces to the office that they've secured the dealership, sparking joy among the staff. That afternoon, Chung Li summons Ling Shu to a clothing store with some files. "You're 2 minutes and 26 seconds late," he chides. He then tells her to try on some outfits. Ling Shu models them, but Chung Li seems unimpressed. He instructs her to pack them all up. Confused, she asks, "Who are you buying all these clothes for?" Chung Li replies, "For the one who just tried them on." Ling Shu protests, I don't need so many dresses. Chung Li retorts, I don't want my assistant looking outdated, then walks off, leaving her stung by the jab. Later, Ling Shu drives Chung Li to a factory. She chats with him warmly. But he cuts her off, you're my assistant, not my buddy. Stop with the questions. Ling Shu fires back, I'm older than you, show some respect at least. At the factory, Chung Li tells her to wait in the car and heads inside. As evening falls, the factory lights suddenly go out. Chung Li panics, faints, and calls Ling Shu for help. She rushes in, supports him out, and they emerge together. A security guard approaches, apologizing, I thought the place was empty, so I switched off the lights by mistake. Chung Li warns him, be more cautious next time. Ling Shu turns to Chung Li, are you afraid of the dark? He dodges the question, instead remarking, why are your hands so rough? Ling Shu retorts, because of all the endless torment. Chung Li snaps, let's get home fast. In the next scene, Ling Shu meets her friend Xiao and recounts the factory incident. Xiao advises this isn't your burden, so don't dwell on it. You're an assistant, stick to that. Then Jaya chimes in, does Chung Li like women? Ling Shu nods, yes, he does. Why? Jia probes further, have you ever noticed Chung Li's physique? Ling Shu drifts into a memory of Chung Li stepping out of the shower, accidentally bumping into her. Xiao jolts her back to reality, what's on your mind? Are you scheming something behind my back? Ling Shu laughs it off, no, what are you talking about? Stop teasing. The following day, Eric signs the dealership papers in Chung Li's office. To mark the occasion, Chung Li invites Eric for dinner that evening, but Eric declines, sorry, I've already got plans with Ling Shu. Ling Shu, standing nearby, also refuses, I need to drive the boss home. Eric turns to Chung Li, mind if I take your assistant out for dinner tonight? Chung Li brusquely replies, go ahead, and storms off. Later, Chung Li is in his office, engrossed in a phone game when Michael drops by. Michael stirs the pot. First, Ling Shu mocked you at the party, and now she's cozying up to Eric and the company. That evening, Ling Shu dines with Eric at a restaurant. Meanwhile, Chung Li deliberately takes Miss Jine, the general manager of their brand's beauty products, on a date to the same spot, spying on Ling Shu and Eric's interactions. After dinner, Eric spots Chung Li and approaches him. Ling Shu, seeing her boss, tells Eric, I'll head out with Chung Li since I need to drop him home. But Eric grins, I've already cleared it with your cat-a-loss. With that, he drives off with Ling Shu. In the car, she questions him, why are you putting me in an awkward spot in front of Chung Li? Eric replies, I'm not humiliating you. Your boss thinks he's got everything under control, that things will always go his way. I'm just giving him a little lesson, Ling Shu says. Eric chuckles, you're acting like a kid. Meanwhile, Chung Li paces at home, anxious because Ling Shu hasn't returned yet. Eric tells her, Xiao always mentions you. Sometimes I wonder if she even likes guys. When Ling Shu finally gets home, Chung Li spots her arrival and quickly plops onto the sofa. She walks in, and he grumbles, you said you'd be back before midnight. Ling Shu yawns, I'm off to bed now. Good night. Chung Li yells after her, do people your age still fall in love or what? The next scene shows Chung Li summoning Ling Shu from her room. He's watching a horror movie and visibly shaken. She teases, are you scared of ghosts? Chung Li mutters, just stand there quietly. As he flinches at the screen, Ling Shu secretly records his frightened reactions. Eventually, she dozes off on her feet, her hair slipping forward over her face. Chung Li glances at her, gets spooked by her eerie silhouette, and bolts to his room. The following day, Chung Li's mother visits his office, urging him sell the company and factory, then move to headquarters. The factory's bleeding money. Chung Li resists, determined to keep it running. Later, Ling Shu searches her room for her painting tools but can't find them. Chung Li holds up one of her drawings and asks, did you make this? Ling Shu snaps, why were you in my room? She reaches for it, demanding, give me back my tools. Chung Li smirks, I tossed them in the storeroom. She storms off to check, only to discover he's transformed a space into a painting studio for her. He strolls in and says, tell me now if you're quitting so I can sleep easy. Ling Shu softens, apologizing. Chung Li hands her a small package with a cute toy mouse inside, saying, I got this for Dudo. Puzzled, he asks, who's Dudo? Ling Shu hesitates, searching for an answer. Before she can reply, Chung Li guesses, your pet, right? She stays silent. Later, on a video call, Ling Shu feels guilty about lying regarding her father. Xiao reassures her, don't dwell on it. Even if Chung Li finds out, the worst he'll do is fire you. Soon after, Ling Shu and Chung Li sit together. She asks, how long has Wang been your assistant? He replies, 5 years. When my mom sent me abroad to train in boxing, Wang was my coach's aide and stuck with me since. Ling Shu wonders aloud, could Wang be your mother's informant? Chung Li brushes it off, you're overanalyzing. That's not true. Ling Shu counters, I'm your assistant, it's my job to look out for you. Chung Li turns to Wang and says, how long will you stick around? You have your own life. Now that Ling Shu's here, she's sharp and capable better than you. I don't need you anymore. He's set on letting Wang go since the factory's losing money and might close soon. Ling Shu interjects, then my job's on the line too, isn't it? Chung Li replies, given the situation, I can't afford 2 assistants' salaries. Wang protests, I don't need a paycheck. Ling Shu frowns, how can you say that? You've got a family to support? Chung Li exits the room, leaving the tension unresolved. Later, Chung Li pours effort into reviving the company with his team. One evening, he and Ling Shu return home, but he suddenly realizes he forgot crucial documents at the office. He sends Ling Shu back, adding, Michael should still be there. At the office, Ling Shu finds Michael drinking alone. Startled at first, she soon joins him, and they begin swapping life's woes over drinks. In a slip, Ling Shu blurts out, I need to get my son back. Michael perks up, you have a son. Panicking, she backtracks, I meant my pet. Meanwhile, Chung Li grows restless as Ling Shu hasn't returned. He calls her, and she signals Michael to hush, whispering it's the boss. But Michael snatches the phone and ends the call. Furious, Chung Li mutters, how dare he hang up on me. Soon after, Ling Shu stands outside the house, banging on the door and yelling, Chung Li, let me in. He ignores her on purpose. Then the society security guard phones, Chung Li, sir, please come out. The neighbors are complaining. Grudgingly, Chung Li steps outside, hears the guard's report, and has no choice but to let Ling Shu in. The next morning, Ling Shu wakes up in Chung Li's room, bewildered. What am I doing here? She wonders, then hurries out to find Chung Li asleep on the sofa. Memories flood back. The previous night, she'd barged into his room, ordering him, go sleep in the maid's quarters, before claiming his bed. Humiliated, she writes a resignation letter and hands it to Wang to deliver to Chung Li, hoping to escape before facing him. Later, Wang escorts Chung Li to the office. Chung Li instructs, fire Ling Shu. Wang cautions she's tight with Eric. Letting her go could backfire. Chung Li snaps, I don't want drunks and crazies around me. A flashback reveals him shoving Ling Shu out of his bedroom as she slurred dudo over and over. Back in the present, Ling Shu asks Wang, am I sacked? Wang replies, I'm not sure about you, but I'm out in a month. Trying to mend things, Ling Shu brings Chung Li his favorite coffee and steps into his office. Chung Li glares at Ling Shu in his cabin, snapping, I don't want to see your face. But he still grabs the coffee she offers. Meanwhile, Eric's assistant, Peter, visits Chung Li's mother, begging for a job. It's revealed that Peter leaked details of Chung Li and Eric's dealership to her. She refuses him coldly, I know what you did. You tried to exploit Ling Shu and harassed her. Later, Chung Li spars with Eric in a boxing ring. Confiding, Peter's the one who spilled everything to my mother, and he bothered Ling Shu too. He recalls how Ling Shu once mistook Peter for Eric and sat with him, unaware Chung Li had tailed her. Just then, Eric gets a text from Xiao, come to the police station, quick, save me. At the station, Jiao explains, I didn't want cops involved. It's personal, I wanted to handle it myself. A boy's mother accuses her, you ensnared my son. Xiao retorts, your son's no kid. Eric steps in, smooths things over, but later tells Xiao, don't drag me into this again. Xiao frowns, why the sudden change? Eric says, we're friends, but we're also a man and a woman. Boundaries matter. Days pass with Chung Li giving Ling Shu the cold shoulder. She vents to Jiao, who advises, quit this job. Why obsess over him? One night, heavy rain knocks out the power at home. Ling Shu finds Chung Li unconscious on the floor, blood trickling from his hand. Panicked, she grabs his medicine as he gasps, give it to me. She administers it, bandages his wound, and asks, are you all right? A flashback shows a young Chung Li in a similar crisis, saved by a girl Ling Shu, but he still doesn't realize it was her. Morning comes, and Chung Li wakes to see Ling Shu asleep nearby. When she stirs, she urges, you should rest. He eyes the sloppy bandage and quips, this is how you wrap it. How'd you manage as a housewife for years without knowing this? Married a rich guy, huh? He presses, did you go to middle school? Ling Shu nods, yes, why the sudden quiz? Chung Li muses, I had a dream, the same one from my student days, naming their shared school. Ling Shu lights up, I went there too. We were schoolmates. You must have seen me, I hosted the radio station. Chung Li mocks, now it makes sense. You're 29 and still clueless. She sighs, my school days are done. Now I'm just a nanny. Just then, Chung Li's friend Chin arrives to check on him. Ling Shu assumes Chin's his girlfriend and feels a quiet joy seeing them together. As Chin leaves, reporters snap photos, splashing them across the media with claims she spent the night with Chung Li. His mother sees the headlines and dials him immediately. Chung Li insists to his mother, there's nothing between Chin and me. She retorts, why deny it? You two are close, get married. Chung Li staunchly refuses. He phones Chin, pleading, "Help me clear this up." Meanwhile, Ling Shu lunches with Eric and Xiao, who are visibly at odds, ignoring each other and glued to their phones. Ling Shu urges stop acting like this, but they brush her off. She excuses herself deliberately, hoping they'll patch things up. Eric breaks the silence. "I'm sorry for being harsh that day." Xiao shrugs. "Which day?" "I don't even recall." Elsewhere, Chung Li's mother's secretary reports. Chin says she and Chung Li are just childhood friends, nothing more. At the same time, Xiao sends Ling Shu an irate voice message. "I'm not speaking to you for a week, don't call or text." Ling Shu chuckles at the outburst. Later, Chung Li's mother visits him, pressing Mary Chin. He counters, "Have you even asked her?" She replies, "You know each other well, discuss it together." She then warns, "What if Ling Shu takes advantage of you?" Chung Li defends her, "Ling Shu's not like that. She's looking after me." His mother departs, unconvinced. Ling Shu approaches Chung Li, asking, "Is my being here causing you trouble?" He reassures her, "You've done nothing wrong." The next morning, as Chung Li dresses for work, his injured hand hinders him. He asks Ling Shu to tie his tie, and a fondness for her begins to stir. Meanwhile, his mother discovers an old-school photo of Ling Shu tucked in Chung Li's book, realizing who she is. At the office, Ling Shu feeds Chung Li lunch by hand when Eric bursts in. Startled, she drops the spoon. Eric grins, "I came to take Ling Shu for lunch." Chung Li quips, "I'll tag along." The trio heads to a restaurant. Chung Li fumbles with his food due to his injury, irritating him. Eric teases Ling Shu, "Next time, just us no third wheel." Back at the office, Ling Shu beams at Chung Li, "I'm so happy. I'm officially your assistant now, you trust me." Later, Chung Li reviews painting samples for product branding with Michael. Among them are Ling Shu's works, but he dismisses them. She feels stung. While driving him home, Chung Li notices her silence and asks, "Why so quiet today?" She snaps, "Are you saying I talk too much?" In a meeting with Ling Shu present, Chung Li announces, "I want to rebrand Eric's product with a trendy name." Eric resists the idea. Ling Shu, upset, challenges Chung Li, "How can you do this to me?" He retorts, "Are you on my side or his?" She replies, "Eric's my friend, he'll be hurt if he finds out." Chung Li shrugs, "That's not my concern. I had other plans. If you don't like it, quit anytime?" Furious, Ling Shu storms out, leaving Chung Li in the car. In the next scene, Ling Shu strides into Chung Li's office, hands him her resignation letter, and declares, "This is the best way forward for me." Chung Li scoffs, "Running away is your go-to-fix, huh? Your marriage failed, so you divorced. Now work gets tough, and you're bailing again." Ling Shu fires back, "Say what you want about my job, but keep my personal life out of it, you know nothing about it." Chung Li nods curtly, "I accept your resignation. You can go." As she heads out, he calls after her, "Didn't discuss this with your boyfriend?" "Huh?" Ling Shu pauses, "I don't want to hurt either of you, so I'm leaving." Chung Li's mother hears of this and discreetly instructs her secretary to scout a new assistant for him. Meanwhile, Jiao invites Eric to a bar. When he arrives, he finds Xiao plastered. He hoists her into his car and drives her home. The next day, Ling Shu visits an art gallery and discovers Chung Li has bought all her paintings. Elsewhere, Eric visits Jiao's house. She offers him food, but he brushes it off. "I don't need this to show how I feel." He confesses, "I like you, Jiao. You're a liar, how do you run out of words? We've known each other a decade. You've had countless boyfriends, I've lost track, but you never considered me." Xiao admits, "I was afraid of losing you." Eric smiles, "I was scared too. That's why I never kissed you." They agree to stay friends forever. Ling Shu attends a job interview at another company, and it goes smoothly. Later, Eric, after sipping wine at Jiao's place, dozes off. When he wakes, it's evening. He texts Ling Shu, "I heard you quit Chung Li's company because of me." She replies, "It's a business matter, I can't discuss it." Eric calls Chung Li for clarity. Chung Li tells him, "Your girlfriend cared more about you, so she walked out on her own." Ling Shu explains the brand name dispute to Eric, who bursts into laughter. "You got it wrong," he says. "At the company level, you should have seen their side. Chung Li was paying you a fortune anyway." Ling Shu silently berates herself, realizing her foolishness cost her dearly. Eric tells Ling Shu, "You lost a solid jig. You ought to thank Chung Li." She scoffs, "Chung Li's a kid, what's he going to teach me?" Eric counters, "In business, Chung Li's on a slick, professional level. You're like a preschooler by comparison. If I were you, I'd have rushed to him, dropped to my knees, and begged forgiveness." Just then, Ling Shu gets a call from the company she interviewed with, "You're hired. Start next week, good pay." She dials Wang, Chung Li's assistant. "I'm heading to Chung Li's place to grab my stuff." After hanging up, Wang tells Chung Li, "You should head home, Ling Shu's coming by." When Ling Shu arrives, Chung Li pulls up at the same moment. She says, "I'm just here for my things." He replies, "Pack it all up and take it, no excuses to come back." As she gathers her belongings, she asks, "If you didn't like my painting, why buy it?" Chung Li clarifies, "I never said I disliked it. For you, painting's a pastime. For others, it's their livelihood they chase every chance. A hobby doesn't stack up to a career." As Ling Shu leaves with her stuff, it dawns on her how she misjudged both herself and Chung Li's skills. She turns back and pleads, "Can you give me another shot?" Chung Li shrugs, "If it's just about chances, you'll find plenty elsewhere." Chung Li begins interviewing candidates for a new personal assistant, but finds no one up to par. None match Ling Shu's knack. He starts feeling a void without her. Meanwhile, Ling Shu begins her new job but feels unfulfilled. One night, Chung Li decides to call her back. He dials late, but she doesn't pick up. Later, checking her phone, Ling Shu spots his missed call and freaks out, heading toward his place. Xiao intercepts her. "Where are you off to? You quit Chung Li's job, call him and find out what's up." Nervously, Ling Shu dials him. When Chung Li answers, he barks, "Why didn't you pick up?" She snaps back, "What do you want?" He grumbles, "My TV's been busted since you last touched it. Come fix it, I want to watch something." Ling Shu retorts, "I'm not your round-the-clock assistant anymore. It's late, I'll come tomorrow," and hangs up before he can respond. For once, she's the one cutting him off mid-talk, and it feels good. The next day, Chung Li flips on the TV. It turns out that the night before, while Ling Shu was drunk, Chung Li had taken advantage of her unconscious state, coaxing her to sign papers to rejoin his company. As he leaned in close, tempted to kiss her, she stirred and pulled away. Chung Li then called Jiao, saying, "Ling Shu's at my place." She drank too much and passed out. Xiao, hearing this, assumes there might be sparks between them. The next morning, Chung Li presents Ling Shu with the job contract. Stunned, she demands, "When did I sign this?" He jogs her memory about the night before. She inspects the document and notices her salary's been slashed. Furious, she accuses, "You lied to me. How could you?" Later, she tells Xiao she's working for Chung Li again, but Xiao disapproves. "You can't stay his assistant forever," Xiao warns. "Have you thought about your future? Has Chung Li mentioned any plans with you in them?" Ling Shu sighs, "I'm 30, my skills are limited, and I know my boundaries." Jiao advises, "If you like Chung Li and want to be his girlfriend, don't linger as his assistant, playing second fiddle. Become your own woman, stand as his equal." Ling Shu arrives at Chung Li's office, where the staff buzzes with excitement. Chung Li nearly breaks into a dance, thrilled about a new beauty product meeting. Afterward, Eric invites Ling Shu to hang out that evening. Chung Li interrupts, "No female employee here is free for parties or socializing." Eric retorts, "We're friends, aren't we? Don't make this awkward, I need to talk to Ling Shu about something important. Let her come." Chung Li resists, but Ling Shu leaves with Eric anyway. Chung Li trails them, leaving poor Ling Shu caught in the middle. She texts Xiao, "Save me, I'm trapped between these two and about to lose it." Jiao replies, "Deal with it yourself." As they part, Eric says, "We'll meet at your place this weekend without Chung Li." Chung Li snaps, "No meetings at my house." Desperate to escape, Ling Shu suggests, "Let's just go home." Eric offers to drive her, but Chung Li yanks her away. Eric chuckles, look how jealous he is. In the car, Chung Li warns Ling Shu, "If Eric takes you out again, I'll kill his dealership deal. I even sacked Peter." Shocked, Ling Shu realizes Chung Li knew about Peter's harassment all along. Later, Wang announces, "Today's my official last day," but no one bats an eye. Ling Shu arrives, and Wang says, "It's my final day here, lunch together." Ling Shu tells Wang, "I've got somewhere to be," adding, "Make sure you finish what Chung Li asked you to do." Wang heads to the spot Chung Li designated and finds a farewell party waiting for him, with Chin there too. The next morning, Chung Li teases Ling Shu, "You drank too much last night, I had to piggyback you home." Later, they head to a basketball court. Chung Li's teammates arrive and assume Ling Shu's his girlfriend. She corrects them, "I'm not his girlfriend, I'm his assistant." Chung Li grins, "Are you ashamed to be my girlfriend?" Ling Shu replies, "It's not that. I just can't handle that kind of joke." He proposes, "Let's bet on a game. Whoever scores the most baskets wins. If you win, I'll grant 2 wishes. If I win, you grant one of mine?" She agrees. They trade shots and Chung Li comes out on top. Smirking, he says, "My girlfriend's slots open, won it." Ling Shu walks off without a word. Later, he corners her, "Do you like me?" She answers, "I don't feel that way about you." Soon, a rumor spreads through the company that Eric and Ling Shu are dating, violating policy and jeopardizing both firms. Chung Li swoops in, declaring, "Eric and Ling Shu met officially because she's my girlfriend." It turns out Peter had sent their photo to headquarters, framing them for revenge. Chung Li plays a recording of Peter harassing Ling Shu, exposing him. Peter protests to the XX, "It's all fake, they're not together." To shut him up, Chung-Li kisses Ling Shu in front of everyone and whisks her outside. "Girlfriend," he says, "call me by my name now." She fumes at him. Back home, Chung-Li shows her a video of him thrashing Peter, forcing an apology. "I'll never treat any girl like that again." Ling Shu softens, feeling a rush of relief. She grabs the TV remote. He lunges to snatch it back, tumbling onto her. Pinning her down, he teases, "Your heart's racing you like me." Flustered, she bolts. Chung-Li muses, "How do I know if she likes me?" He decides, "I'll kiss her. If she lets me, it's mutual." In the car, he slides into the front seat beside her, murmuring, "I want to sit close and hear your heartbeat." Ling Shu savors this flirty charm. Next, he takes her to a basketball game, hiring girls to fawn over him and prove she's his favorite. She sees through the ruse, and he's mortified. At an office truth or dare game with Xiao present, Chung-Li picks truth. Someone asks, "Is the girl you like available right now?" Chung-Li answers, "Yes," and discreetly slips his hand under the table to hold Ling Shu's. Later, they return home, where Chung-Li has decked out the place for her birthday, even arranging a team lunch to celebrate. Ling Shu's stunned by the gesture. Chung-Li kneels, proposing, "Will you be my girlfriend?" He adds, "I'm going to kiss you now. If you pull away, I'll know you don't feel the same." Ling Shu leans in, accepting the kiss. The next morning, Chung-Li struts out with his shirt unbuttoned, flirting playfully. She teases, "You've never dressed like this before?" He grins, "You were my assistant, then now you're my girlfriend." His sudden sweetness throws her off. Xiao calls, but Chung-Li snatches the phone, answering. Ling Shu celebrated her birthday with her boyfriend this time, then hangs up. Xiao assumes they're officially together and smiles. Ling Shu visits Jiao, sharing, "Chung-Li proposed, and I said yes. I'll tell him about my son tomorrow." At the office, Chung-Li summons her to his cabin. Everyone assumes he's furious, but he pulls her into a hug. She asks, "Are you free tonight? I've got something big to tell you." He smirks, "Yeah, but are you planning to kiss me on the lips?" Their office romance kicks off. Meanwhile, Xiao, dressed to impress, visits Eric. A girl, Yo-Yo, answers the door. Eric appears, puzzled. "Why are you here?" Xiao demands, "Who's she?" Unhappy seeing Yo-Yo with Eric, Xiao storms off without hearing him out. Later, Ling Shu picks up Chung-Li's school records from his old teacher, who mentions, "After Chung-Li transferred, your mother donated a hefty sum to the school, odd, right?" She tells Chung-Li, who shrugs, nothing strange about it. Ling Shu presses, something feels off. He chuckles, "That's just you worrying about me too much." Michael hands Ling Shu coffee, asking, "Are you and Chung-Li a thing?" Chung-Li walks in, yes, and warns her, "Steer clear of Michael." He gives the office a day off to whisk Ling Shu to dinner. At the restaurant, Chung-Li's mother barges in. "I know you're dating, but did you know Ling Shu has a son?" She flashes a photo of Dudo. Chung-Li snaps, "You can't stir trouble with this." Ling Shu confesses she's right. "Dudo's not a pet, he's my son. I was going to tell you tonight. I hid it for the job. I didn't expect to fall for you." Chung-Li, skeptical, insists, "My mom's just intimidating you into this." "Don't be scared." Ling Shu shakes her head. "That's not it." He grabs her hand. "You don't owe her any explanation. I love you, I'll deal with whatever comes." His mother storms off, fuming. Outside, Chung-Li's heart cracks. "Why didn't you tell me? Why play me for a fool?" he asks, voice breaking. Ling Shu apologizes, tears welling. He drives her home, dropping her off. She says, "I'll quit." He replies, "No need. If I'm hurting, you'll feel it too." Sobbing, she calls Jiao to meet outside Chung-Li's place. Jiao comforts her, "It's not your fault." Then her ex-husband calls, "Dudo wants to see you." He pushes, "Marry me again," but she refuses. "You want a girlfriend and a wife? No way." The next morning, Ling Shu drives Chung-Li to the office. He's still brooding. Michael debuts a bold new look, drawing everyone's stares. Ling Shu feels wounded by Chung-Li's cold demeanor. On her way to Jiao's, she gets a message from Chung-Li's residential society about a power outage. Alarmed, she races to his house. Chung-Li greets her, "Don't look around, look at me." It dawns on her he orchestrated the blackout to lure her back. He welcomes her warmly, rekindling their bond. Meanwhile, Xiao lunches with Eric, but Yo-Yo shows up, sparking Xiao's ire. "Eat with her instead," Xiao snaps, storming off. Chung-Li takes Ling Shu to meet a woman, his father's second wife and his mother's friend. She reveals, "I schemed to befriend your mom, got close to your dad, ensnared him in romance, and married him. We have a son. Your mom hides this to protect your father's dignity in your eyes, even supporting us financially." Shocked, Chung-Li sees how much his mother sacrificed. He later tells her, "I resented your methods, but you bore so much for me. I miss your old smile." She replies, "It's odd hearing this from you." At home, Ling Shu surprises Chung-Li with a birthday cake. "How'd you know?" he asks. Your mom told me, she says, handing him flowers. He tosses them aside. Why'd you throw them? It's my first time giving a guy flowers, she protests. He explains, first time a girl's given me flowers too. But you're allergic. She confesses, you've got every reason to hate me, I'm older, divorced, with a kid, but I love you. Chung-Li replies, I love you more than you love yourself. I caused that outage to bring you back. They share a tender evening. He cooks for her, flirting as he chops. Are you a chef? First time cooking? She teases. He laughs, smart folks pick things up fast, fools take a lifetime. She smirks, calling me a fool? He asks, how many dishes can you make? 5, she says. Thank your ex for dumping you, you landed a gem like me, he quips. You're right, but you're not that great, she fires back. Annoyed, he playfully shoves food in her mouth. Next day at the office, Michael gifts Ling Shu cosmetics. Chung-Li intercepts, returning it. Trying to steal my girlfriend? Some friend you are, he snaps. Michael retorts, just a gift, didn't you two split? Later, Chung-Li and Ling Shu host Xiao, confirming their relationship. They then invite Jiao and Eric for golf, hoping to spark a confession between Eric and Xiao. Yo-Yo tags along, souring Xiao's mood. Ling Shu and Chung-Li distract Yo-Yo, giving Eric a chance to ask Xiao, were you about to confess? Xiao deflects, why me? You could say something. Playing golf, she accidentally whacks Eric with a club. She calls Ling Shu and Chung-Li, who tease 10 minutes, and you've already done this? Chung-Li seizes every office moment to be with Ling Shu. One evening, driving home, they spot Jiao outside with a teddy bear fuming over Eric and Yo-Yo. Ling Shu says, stay here tonight. Chung-Li adds, go to Eric's in the morning. The next morning, Xiao heads to Eric's place, concocting a reason to linger. Eric agrees, welcoming her in. Later, she video calls Ling Shu, griping, Eric's so irritating. At the office, Ling Shu pitches a proposal centered on mother-child bonds, earning praise from all, including Chung-Li's mother, who pledges investment. Meanwhile, Xiao spots Eric leaving Yo-Yo's room and assumes the worst. Furious, she storms to Ling Shu and Chung-Li's place at midnight, finding them asleep, entwined. She leaves in a huff. Soon after, Ling Shu visits the hospital to see Dudo, with Chung-Li by her side. Dudo asks, who's he? Ling Shu replies, my boss. Dudo dubs Chung-Li brother. But Chung-Li whispers to Ling Shu, telling me on me, uncle, not brother. Her ex-husband arrives, eyeing Chung-Li suspiciously, why's he here? Later, Chung-Li watches Ling Shu, her ex, and Dudo playing together, a pang of sadness hitting him. Ling Shu catches his gaze. Her ex asks, are you with Chung-Li? She snaps, I don't owe you answers. He pleads, for Dudo's sake, let's try again, be a family. She scoffs, where was that thought during your affair? You only care about yourself. Just then, Jiao and Eric rush in with Yo-Yo, who overdosed on sleeping pills. Next, Chung-Li, Ling Shu, and Dudo head to a park. Dudo calls Chung-Li brother again, prompting Chung-Li to nudge Ling Shu, set him straight, uncle, not brother. Dudo teases, don't follow me, dodging Chung-Li's attempts to join in. Eventually, they all play together, laughing like a family. Dropping Dudo home, Ling Shu's ex mentions, there's a family event at Dudo's school next week. She agrees to go for Dudo, but Chung-Li bristles. Soon, her ex calls, I can't make it, urgent meeting in France. It's revealed Chung-Li engineered this so he could attend with Ling Shu and Dudo instead. In his office, Chung-Li practices dance moves, unaware Ling Shu and colleagues are peeking, smiling. At the school event, he and Dudo perform together. When a teacher asks about Chung-Li, Ling Shu boldly says, he's my boyfriend. Dudo overhears, unbothered. Meanwhile, a woman tries to see Chung-Li at the office, but security blocks her. Ling Shu intervenes, why do you need him? The woman insists, I'll only speak to him. In Chung-Li's office, he hides his phone, caught gaming. They play together, he teases, how's a girl this good? She quips, smart people catch on fast. Later, Ling Shu and Michael step into an elevator with Chung-Li. The lights flicker out, and Chung-Li collapses. They rush him to the hospital. Ling Shu visits his mother, asking about his condition. His mother says, I know he's embraced you and your son. I'm fine with it, even if you're older. Chung-Li is discharged from the hospital, and he, Ling Shu, and Xiao head to a bar where Eric's also present. They all leave together, and Jiao offers to drive Eric home. A flashback reveals Eric once thrashed a boy for gossiping about Jiao with buddies Eric had overheard. That night, Ling Shu meets Eric, advising if you're into yo-yo, be straight with Jiao. Stop toying with her emotions. The next morning, Eric texts Jiao, I'm proposing to that girl today. Ling Shu, Chung-Li, and you should come support me. At lunch, with Yo-Yo there, Jiao bristles and starts to leave. Eric halts her, proposing marriage. She slaps him, stop messing with me. He confesses, "I've loved you for 10 years, dropped plenty of hints." Meanwhile, the woman who'd sought Chung Lee reappears at his office but leaves abruptly, dropping a medical report. Ling Shu spots it, tails her, and learns she's tied to a patient named Guan. Next day, at the hospital, Chung Lee's mother has already whisked the woman away. Ling Shu asks Chung Lee, know a classmate named Guan? He says, no. At his old school, she finds a class photo. Outside, his mother warns, stop digging. The truth might hurt the one you love. Ling Shu insists, I needed to know if Chung Lee and I are right. His mother admits, we met 10 years ago. Ling Shu calls her own mom, requesting an old box. Inside a diary, she recalls saving an injured Guan and Chung Lee as kids, though the details were hazy. She meets Guan's mother, who explains 10 years ago Guan and Chung Lee clashed constantly. They bet on who'd stay longer in a cave. You called an ambulance, saving them. Doctors said Guan was beaten badly, everyone assumed Chung Lee did it. His mom begged me not to press charges, offering to cover Guan's care. She adds, Chung Lee has a mental disorder sent abroad for treatment. His mom feared he'd hurt Guan and hid it to shield him. I hate him, he thrives while my son's bedridden. She donates to the school to bury the incident, even from Chung Lee, to spare him guilt. Ling Shu shares this with Chung Lee, saying only you and Guan know that day's truth. He tells Guan's mom, I don't recall if I'm to blame, but I'll wake him. Visiting his own mother, he sees her lifelong protection. A psychiatrist helps him unearth the memory. Guan fell, hitting a rock, not Chung Lee's doing. He tells Ling Shu. Eric bursts in. Social media's wild rumors Chin's pregnant from weight gain. Chung Lee confronts Chin, who denies it. It's stress eating, I'm no star if I can't cope. She clarifies online, boosting company sales. Later, Chung Lee and Ling Shu don school uniforms, revisiting their old school to relive missed moments. Eric and Xiao wed. Chung Lee proposes to Ling Shu with a ring. She says, if it's love, I'll take it. If marriage, I need time. Upset, he asks why. I love you, she explains, but you're young, and I've escaped a failed marriage. We need time. He presses, I'm ready, how long? She replies, I want independence first, to stand beside you confidently. He shrugs. I don't care about that. She insists, I do. I won't just be your girl, I'll earn my worth and then take your ring. He smiles, I'll wait, no matter how long. The drama closes on this hopeful note. I'd rate it 8/10, engaging twists, solid character growth, and a satisfying end. My favorite scene. The hospital reveal with Guan's mom raw, emotional, and pivotal, tying past to present. What's your take? Rate it, share your favorite moment below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and spread the word.